we can videotape me.
Yes.
I'm going to say, this is my board. This is my love-hate relationship with food since age 3, just saying. So please come up, take a look at it, even since kindergarten, which I didn't see this picture until this year because a friend of mine posted it on a reunion page. We're having our 45th reunion this summer. So we've been posting our grade school class photos, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm the Hulk. I'm like as tall as the teacher. This kid in front of me, Nancy Nagodi, looks like she's my baby. I mean, I have had a major thing going on with being the tallest, biggest kid since kindergarten, and it just carried out throughout the years. I had a few spots in my life when I was 16, when I got married, when I was 40, when I had dieted my way down to a reasonable number. But generally speaking, my whole life has been a really huge battle. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, is how I went from my about 200-pound life, which I wasn't about 200, I wish I had been about 200, to my life today. So thank you for having me. Now, I brought notes only because I'm ADHD, and so I tend to go off on bunny trails, but I don't want to go off on a bunny trail today. I want to get to the most salient points of this presentation. Okay, thank you for having me, Mike and Lillian. May 1st, 2017, I was 61 years old. I was taking 20 milligrams of Prilosec a day for intense acid reflux and had been for years and years. I was taking lisinopril for my high blood pressure. I was taking simvastatin for my high cholesterol, and I was taking an Aleve every morning for my arthritic pain. Then in 2014, this knee went out on me, and I had to get a knee replacement. 2015, this went out on me, and I got lung cancer and had to get this part of my lung removed. And then in 2015, this knee went out on me, and I had to get that replaced. So that's why, just saying, haven't worn a short skirt since what? 8 years old. So I wore this today, so if you want to see my scars later, you can. Okay? To prove, I'm not kidding. I really had 2 knee replacements and lower left lobe lobectomy. And if that doesn't impress you enough, I'm just going to say that I also thought I looked and felt fabulous as a working wife and mother. I happen to be an LLP psychologist. But, I was also, considering what I do for my career, thinking I was, doing my thing, feeling fabulous at around 200 pounds. May 1st, 2017 is when I got my wake-up call. I went to a clinic my doctor had recommended for me, stepped on the scale, and it didn't say 200, and it didn't say 220, and it didn't say 250. It said 280. So I was like, okay, so I'm an NFL linebacker. Great, thank you. I was really, really, really upset. To say around 200 and then actually be 280. And, we know, when you get on that scale and you don't like the number, okay, 5 or 10 pounds, you're not going to want to jump off the nearest bridge. But when I was off that much, I did want to jump off the nearest bridge. It was just the worst day, but ultimately the best day of my life. So on June 8th, 2019, here I am today. I'm 62 and a half years old. No more Prilosec, no more lisinopril, no more Aleve, and the doctor says pretty soon I'll be able to be off the simvastatin as well. I feel really good. I have more energy than I know what to do with on a daily basis. I went from 280 pounds. Here's the coat that a friend gave me back then, but I couldn't wear it because I couldn't close it, okay? So this was the coat that I loved because, she's one of my richer friends in life. I'm like, mink, leather, I want to wear it. Nope, couldn't close it. This is how it used to be. But I had to wear it like this because this wouldn't happen. So I went from this to what you see in front of you now. This skirt's a size 6, just saying. I don't even know, when I was in 3rd grade, I was a size 10 woman's. I was the Wicked Queen in Snow White. I wore my mother's dress. The only thing is that instead of being up to here like it was on her, it was down to the ground on me. But it was a size 10 women's dress. You'll see as I present here that my relationship, and it was a relationship with food, and with my weight represented a major problem in my life since I started piling it on after the age of 3. For me, food was the very first thing I had the power to obtain on my own in order to mood alter. And excuse me using the term mood alter, but that's what we say in psychobabble. The first thing I learned to do as a 3-year-old was open up that refrigerator door. It was like opening up a treasure chest. And I can remember seeing a stick of butter and going, hey, what's that? Thought it was a giant piece of chalk. I picked it up and in my house things were kind of crazy, but onto the cabinets that butter went. I'm an artist, first and foremost. Then I can remember climbing up on top of the counter to the sugar canister, whoosh, on top of the butter, watching it stick. When I figured that butter and that sugar could go in here instead of out there you go. The relationship began. I can remember even climbing from a chair on top of the cabinet and then on my tippy toes on top of this other cabinet over our refrigerator, because that's where my mom kept the Saunders cakes and pies hidden, from me. And one time I remember opening that cabinet door up and a mouse jumping out. Did that stop me? Heck no. I grabbed that box and ate that pie. Just saying. So me and food have had a very arduous, and yet, I'm not going to lie, very important relationship throughout the course of my young life. This morning, I'm going to present to you 3 very important truths that helped me to get from that day on May 1st, 2017 to today. By acknowledging the fact that I was powerless over this thing called food and changing my entire eating lifestyle one day at a time, one meal at a time, I feel that God did wake me up. He woke me up in a way that I can only call miraculous, and that I will follow until the day I die as one of his beloved works in progress. So what's the very first important truth I learned? It is when nothing changes, nothing changes. I spent basically all of my life believing that food was meant to be in a close personal relationship with me. I never questioned my own thinking in this regard. I believed that I love food and food loved me back. It was my comfort during that very complicated childhood that I lived. It was my best friend. It was my source of excitement when I was feeling bored. It was my partner in crime. It was a whole lot of things it wasn't designed to be or function as in a little 3-year-old girl's life. Because I didn't question my beliefs about food and my relationship with it, nothing changed over the course of the next 58 years. I may have thought I changed my eating habits here and there when I lost my first 30 pounds going from 9th grade to 10th grade. Because, back in the day, it wasn't like how it is now. When you graduate from 9th grade, you're going to a whole new school with a whole lot more kids. So I'm not going there at 180, which I was at the time. And isn't that funny? I can remember I was 180, 9th grade summer. How our lives, we remember the numbers. Oh, this was only 180. And then I was this way. And I got down to 150 when, I was entering 10th grade. I remember losing 70 pounds when I was 19, when I was 21, when I was, getting married at 23, and then when I was 40. But after 40, I just gave up. On this board, I have a picture here. This picture down here, a glamour shot. You always want to immortalize when you have a big victory, right? This picture at 40, okay, but by 45, this was me. Because I was in graduate school then, I was under a lot of stress and pressure, and let's face it, I used food as a comfort when I was stressed out. So even though when I got on the scale in 2017, it said 280, from these pictures, I probably had gotten up to 300. And I remember a doctor saying to me a few years, whatever, it was a handful of years later, oh, you lost 40 pounds. Well, yeah, I probably went from 300 something to 260, but in my head, oh, I went from 250 to maybe 210. Me and that 200 thing. We're always thinking, I'm around 200. It's like, I wasn't. Anyway, At 40, I just gave up after I gained that weight. I thought, this is ridiculous. I can't live like this. I can't be in bondage where I'm starving or I'm, stuffing. I'm just going to do what I want. I don't care. I don't want to think about diets. I've been on every diet there was to have. I knew deep down that nothing was going to change for me in that way, or at least I felt that was the truth, but I didn't understand why. I really didn't understand why. So, I figured I'm just going to have good days, bad days, whatever, but I was going to eat whatever I wanted, and I wasn't going to live like chasing down the next diet. When I woke up that day in May of 17, when I saw that the scale read 280, it hit me that food was not love. It was not my friend. It was certainly not my significant other for life. Food instead was mere nutrition and fuel for my body. I know that sounds so simple to say, but I'm not kidding. When I realized that I basically had to break up in my relationship with food as if food represented that bad boyfriend that you had around for basically all your life, things did begin to change for me and in a good way. Now, don't forget, when nothing changes, nothing changes. Have any of you ever read that old school book, When Food is Love by Janine Roth? It's a classic. It's at the library. You might want to check it out. That's an awesome book. Now, I'm not going to lie. I read it how many times. But now, I get it. Isn't that funny how that goes? It's kind of like the Bible. You read, and then you go, oh yeah. But then you read it again, you go, oh yeah. And then you read it again, and you're like, ah. It just hits you like a ton of bricks, like the truth. So much truth for us. So that book was very powerful for me, When Food is Love. So when we make that initial change, and as Lillian put it so beautifully, you do have to change your thinking about what food is to you and what it means to you. It is not your lover, your friend, your comfort, your companion. It is merely nutrition and fuel for your body. That's it. So for me, how that began, I said I had gone to a clinic my doctor had recommended. It was one of those clinics like I had been to back in the day when I was 40, Beaumont program. You don't eat really, you do shakes or you do puddings, and then you lose all this weight, and then when you start eating again, you put it all back on. Well, that's what I went to, in May 1st, 2017. But that first day, it was like, I can't do it. I can't do the shakes and pudding again, besides losing half my hair, which, that happened back when I was 40. I was like, no. But I ain't gonna lie, I liked the bars that day, which you couldn't have till the second week. So I might as well stick with it. I'm just gonna cheat a little bit, So what I did was, and I just cracked myself up what I did, but what I did was, I watched My 600-Pound Life every night to inspire myself. And I thought, what's the real poison here? And I thought, I don't know, miraculous revelation. White sugar is the poison, white flour is the poison, booze is the poison, and processed junk food's the poison. So I had the little shake for the breakfast on day one of the program, but then I went to McDonald's and I said I want a double cheeseburger, no bread, no ketchup, and lettuce. And I had that. Now, that wasn't right, but it was the beginning. It was a baby step. So that's what I had for my lunch that day. What I knew is they were saying, well, Dr. Now would say 1,200 calories, and then the clinic was saying 800 calories, and I thought, well, whatever, I won't be in that range, I guess, something like that, but I'm going to eat real food. I'm not going to do the shakes and the puddings by themselves. So that was the beginning of the baby steps for me. The content of the food is what I started paying attention to, as opposed to it has to look good, it has to smell good, it has to taste good, and then I'll eat it. Because that's how I thought, and that's what I was thinking. I can remember, I used to go to Checkers like it was my job. I go to Checkers for a snack. So I'm getting big Buford, seasoned fries, giant-sized Diet Coke, because, I'm still on a diet. This is before May 1st. Now what do? I don't have potatoes no more, but I have baked rutabaga fries, and baked rutabaga fries are the bomb. And they're good for you, because rutabaga is a vegetable. And, oh, by the way, instead of ketchup, sugar-free. Or can make it, using real tomatoes. So, in other words, I learned to substitute the bad stuff I used to eat for the better, good stuff that wasn't white flour, white sugar, the shade vegetables, if you will, that, for me were not good, and take it from there. So that's the first important truth. If nothing changes, nothing changes. The second very important truth is this. It's always easier to swallow a comfortable lie than it is an uncomfortable truth, right? I'm about 200. I'm about 200. Oh yeah, I know there were friends looking at me going, girl, if you're about 200, I'm 100. Because I had many friends that were really about 200 and they were a lot smaller than me. Have any of you read yet Rachel Hollis's book, Girl Wash Your Face? This is an awesome book. Rachel Hollis wrote a book about all the lies we as women believe. She's a Christian author and speaker. Each chapter is a very common lie that we as women believe, and then how she arrived at the truth of breaking away from that lie and living in the truth to replace that lie. So if you don't or haven't read that book, the library again is going to have it for you, or you can order it through mel.org, which is the statewide exchange network for libraries. So you can literally go on mel.org, type in the book you want, use your library card number, and they'll send that book to your library for you to pick up when it gets there, and then you get to keep it for 3 weeks before you return it. So, when you can think about your own thinking and challenge the lies and the negative thoughts you tell yourself, that's called metacognition, to think about your own thinking. That's a very important skill we all have to develop. When I was in graduate school, one of my professors told us that when a person is unwilling to think about their own thinking and challenging their own negative thoughts, he said they would make terrible psychotherapy clients, and he was right. I've been in practice now for 15 years. This is my second career. I was a marketing consultant for small business prior to this. I went back to school at 40. I graduated from Moody Bible Institute, but my undergrad was in marketing and business from U of M. So, it's ironic. I'm learning all this great truth from Moody. I'm getting my education as a future psychotherapist, and I started school around this time, and then, of course, by the time I graduated and was the first in practice, there I am, because, my food thinking wasn't straightened around yet. I was still living in, if you will, the denial, and also in the lie about how food was indeed my best friend. So, never forget that. I should also add another one of my body things is that about in 2010, I had my gallbladder removed. I gotta laugh. Food has not, it hasn't done me any great service until I broke up with it, and said, I'm done, we're done. Because, you're taking bits and pieces of me. You took my knees, you took my lung, you took my gallbladder, because of these choices that I made that were just so bad. Now, the third very important truth I want to share with you today is this. Say what you mean what you say. Don't say it mean, but say it on time. That's so important. What does that have to do with this weekend's retreat? Plenty. As women, we stuff, and men too, we stuff our own uncomfortable feelings about everything and everyone quite easily. We don't let people know when we are offended or when we disagree with them or when we want to say something we feel is important, because we just don't. And then if we do say what we mean and mean what we say, we may oftentimes say it mean or not on time because we waited too long to say it. And you wonder why people can spend hours, weeks, months, or even years talking about the junk from the past to their friends or therapists like me, because they didn't keep no short emotional accounts with each other. They're waiting, and then, meanwhile, oh geez, stuff your feelings, stuff your beliefs, stuff your attitudes, stuff your opinions. Guess what you're going to do? Eat them away. I remember I used to get phone calls from friends when I was at the height of my, denial here. Oh, Mary, and this is before I'm a therapist. Oh, Mary, this happened, that happened. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then I get off the phone and I go run to Great Harvest Bread to get the biggest cookie they got to make myself feel better because I was so upset about what happened to that. Really, while I hurt myself with every bite. That was my life. Yeah, there's a lot of truth in us that we have stuffed down. and that we have deeply buried for years, if not decades. It's the truth that the truth does set you free, and only the truth that sets you free. If you can't even identify the truth when it's been sitting there inside your mind, heart, and soul so for very long, how in the world are you ever going to appropriately express it to yourself or to anyone else? You just won't. What you will do instead is go find something to eat, like I did. Needless to say, this fine art and practice of being able to say what you mean what you say, don't say it mean, and say it on time is a gift that God will give you if you allow Him to. I've left a handout back there about life lessons. This has been a thing with me and my clients this week, so that's why I brought the handout that I gave to many of them this week. Funny how we like to remember the good lessons from our past. Oh, my mother, she used to make the greatest, Thanksgiving turkey or whatever. And, I'm just saying, as a food addict, recovering food addict, those are my memories of the food. Although my mother didn't make it, my father would go and buy it. But that's okay, Brown's fish and chips, different things from wherever and however he got it. But there are other lessons that we've learned that we don't articulate, and those are the bad and the ugly lessons. So that handout that's back there describes those to you, some of the lessons that clients have shared with me over the years, which have been helpful because once you understand and articulate the lie, you can turn it around and live in the truth and not repeat that lie or that mistake that you've not acknowledged in your own life right now. So, I appreciate you having me. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. My business cards are back there. That handout's back there. And on the handout, it mentions my blog, which has been up and going for 9 years. I'm also on YouTube with a colleague of mine, Dr. Gail Major. We have a series called Psychology Live. Don't ask me why she named it. She's going, oh, Hoda and Kathy Lee, what was their show? I don't even know, something live. And I said, okay, whatever, dude, just put it up. But anyway, we have a great time with that. And thankfully, given Lillian and Mike and Kelly's cooperation here, this presentation will be uploaded to YouTube also for anybody else that you may want to share it with. So thank you, and please feel free. Yeah.